All right. Hello, everyone. For some reason, I can't see me. Oh, there I am. I can hear me just fine. So that's the important
That
thing.
handsome.
Hey, you're not supposed to talk yet, Mikey. Just,
Muting.
yeah. So, hey, everybody. Thanks for being here. My name's Dr. Anthony Horvath, or just Anthony Horvath, whatever you like. Call me anything you want, except for late for dinner. That has been my golden rule for a very long time. Uh, we have a friend of the program, Mikey DiMercurio. This, I believe, is going to be his third time. And at that point, I think we start handing out awards. That's coming up. Just a little bit of, I don't know, housekeeping. I'm just going to keep saying this over and over again. And it's starting to bear a little bit of fruit. I believe that the internet has not fulfilled its promise of connecting people. It's made us more divided. And, sure, there are some people that I don't mind being divided from. But I think we should use this technological marvel to have conversations. And so if you are even a complete stranger, as long as you're not a psycho, and I can usually tell the difference. Tonight's the exception, I recognize that. But not with Red, of course, with Mikey. I can usually tell psycho. If you're not a psycho, let's have you as a guest on this podcast, and we'll pick a topic together, get to know each other a little bit, and see what happens. So, if you're watching this and you've got anything interesting to say at all, then I want to have that conversation with you. Uh, we are promoting Mikey's new book today, Ambush of the Dragon. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that I'm also a publisher, and you can see there. Let's see, by that name there, narrated by Joseph Courtmach. That is the audio producer that Mikey uses, I think, exclusively, and also one of my authors. And that's how I finally was able to connect with Mikey myself. So we don't do anything, at least not yet, where we do like Patreon or anything like that. All we ask, same thing we ask every time, buy the books from the authors that we feature. And when I say books, I mean plural. So why buy 5 when you can buy 50? Why buy 50 when you can buy 500? You see where I'm going with this? Give them out as gifts. In the competitive market right now for book selling, let me tell you that it's a lot easier to write a book than it is to sell one. And so authors really need the readers to help carry us over the finish line, we'll say. So I'm not featuring any of our books today, although you can look up Courtmach if you want, I suppose. And that's okay, but just bear that in mind for the future. And we are Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6:30 Central Time, whereas Mikey likes to say R+1 time. So with that, I think that's all I'm going to say. You guys can unmute yourselves. We've got Supersonic Red and Mikey DiMercurio on standby here, and they are coming in on speakerphone.
Hello.
There you are.
Yep.
And I'm just gonna.
Mikey, are you there?
Mikey?
Did Mikey?
I've got you. Have you got me?
Yes.
All right.
Do you have both of us?
Yeah, you guys are both coming through pretty well here. So I didn't tell the audience what we're going to be doing, and what we're going to be doing is hopefully hearing some. Well, I mean, if we had the choice, we'd hear the classified tales. I have a feeling we're not going to hear any classified tales, but we're going to hear some stories about life on a submarine during the Cold War. And in the chat area, post your questions or comments, and we'll try to field them for you. I've talked to Mikey a lot. Red, why don't you say hello and give whatever introduction to yourself you want to give?
Okay. I am the Supersonic Redhead. Can be found at X on the same name. That's pretty much the only platform. I am retired from the Air Force, an F-16 pilot. I currently do a few projects. I'm working on one for the Navy right now, and I spend most of my time as a test reader, editor, and consultant for writers. Mikey is my only one in his genre. I'm pretty much dedicated to him and promoting the book that he has out right now, Ambush of the Dragon, and he has two others right behind it. But that's what I do. I work on that. My mother was a writer, a screenwriter, and I've been doing this for quite a while. And we're looking to move the Pacino-verse. Actually, we're currently marketing it. We have a couple producers who are interested right now in turning it into, one of them is interested in turning it into a series that would be something akin to Netflix or Hulu or something like that. I'm not going to say who it is specifically, but that's what we've got going on there. But that's me in a nutshell, unless Mikey has anything to add.
Right.
Nothing to add. It's just, I guess I would say that Ambush of the Dragon has had some of the really best professional promotion that I think I've had in my career. The numbers that are coming out on it, that Joe gives me, you have to kind of understand with me that I don't look at sales figures or stats. It's a superstition. Even if the numbers are good, they might be good today, but they might be bad tomorrow. But Joe keeps telling me that our sales numbers are outstanding. So I'm pretty happy with that. And, just sent a note to my publisher with the stats telling him that the book that comes after Ambush of the Dragon is even better, as you can imagine. And, we're all excited about that. Both Supersonic Redhead and narrator Joe Courtmanch are currently editing that. And, if they'd ever get their comments back to me, I could probably put this thing together pretty quick.
Well, this is your Gatsby. This book is absolutely incredible. It has a lot of detail and a lot of technical stuff that I have to go through, make sure that it's not classified, that it's correct, or that I'm not giving anything away. It's difficult from my standpoint, knowing what I know, and then it's funny because you tend to guess a lot of things that are classified, and then I have to go back, and I can't discuss that with you directly. So then that involves, your favorite person, Eric. So it's taking a lot of time. It's taking way more time than Ambush did, though Ambush is awesome. I love that book. It was a real joy and pleasure to work on. It's the first one I worked on with Mikey. But novel 13 is incredible. And novel 14, you're, 17% done as of today?
18.
Wow. So he is like hitting his stride, and he's never written better. It's been pretty great.
So I'm kind of hoping that you're going to be able to share, help prompt him with some stories, because you've known him longer than I. But I'll try first, because this is what we're here. We want to hear stories. I want to know if any submarine that you were on ever fired a torpedo in anger.
An interesting story. We were doing a live fire exercise off Norfolk, and we had a bore-shot torpedo all ready to go. There was a Navy ship that was towing a derelict. I think it was a frigate. Probably 1,000 yards behind it, and our job was to shoot the torpedo. Now, if you've ever read the book The Cane Mutiny, you might get a feel for who our captain was. He would yell at us if it took us more than 90 seconds to get what we call a solution on a target, which is, enough of the target information that you can connect with the torpedo. So if it took me 2 minutes to nail down what the target was doing, how far away he was, what his course was, what his speed was, I would get all kinds of flack from that captain. But when it came time for him to do the approach, and he's on the periscope, and we're maneuvering back and forth, and we've got the target package completely honed, razor sharp on this target, he could not bring himself to launch that torpedo. It just scared him, and he burned up an entire afternoon, unable to bring himself to fire the torpedo. I guess the thing that spooked was that morning in the newspapers, there was a big headline story about what happened to Scorpion and how the theory was that it was a torpedo sinker. Just some text in 1960, and nobody really knew the total story of why she sank. But I think that scared guy, he just was not, he was not a real Cold Warrior. He was sort of a careerist who wanted to be an admiral. So that's about as close as I've come to firing one in actuality. Although I got to tell you, in the Mediterranean, we were out there doing a barrier search, waiting to snap up this Soviet submarine called the Charlie. And it was very much the predecessor to the Kursk. It was a very wide body attack submarine that had all these submarine launched to surface missiles. And these missiles were big. They're like big around as our ballistic missiles today. And the idea was this sub was called the Charlie class. The NATO classification of Soviet ships, we call one Charlie, one was November, another was Victor, because at the time we really didn't have a lot of inside intelligence of what the Soviets themselves called these things. So we called it a Charlie. We were trying to detect him and get in trail of him. So of course on my watch, I snapped him up. You snap up a contact, and we got in trail of the guy. So we were maybe a football field behind him, and the rules of engagement were great because since the Charlie was trailing the America Carrier Battle Group, and there were some really tense things going on in the Cold War at the time, our rules of engagement said that if this Charlie submarine opened a missile door, if we got the sound of him opening a missile door, we could shoot him and kill him. So preemptively, we didn't need anybody's permission to, take the guy out. So of course, every watch, we were always banging on the sonar supervisor to come to control, and the supervisor would come in, yeah, what is it? And we'd say, I bet you can hear a missile tube door coming open, can't you? Can you hear that? But he never behaved himself. So
he behaved himself.
Yeah, so that happened okay. I guess the thing that happened after that I thought was noteworthy was we pulled into our tender ship at La Maddalena. It's a little town off of the coast of Sardinia, which is an Italian island, kind of like Sicily. And there was sort of a little island that tied up to it was our tender ship. And so we would pull into the tender ship, and we would get spare parts, and we'd get more food and, anything we needed to go out and, run unsupported for, 40 days and 40 nights. And while we were there, we had liberty for maybe 5 days or 6 days. And so every night we would hop in a van and we would go into the beautiful countryside of Sardinia, and we would end up at this estate called the Rook House. And the Rook House was this gigantic mansion with all these, outbuildings and things like that. It was owned by Lord Admiral Rooke. Apparently, it was a British Navy muckety-muck, and he had died, and his wife had taken it over. And so she was sort of the patron saint of submariners. And she would take in all of us. There'd be 40 or 50 of us there. She had these buildings that just had big bunk rooms where you just go in and crash and get some rest. And then she'd burn movies. She had a big movie projector and a projector room, and everybody could relax in there. And then she'd serve us all these home cooked meals every day, and it was amazing. But the thing about it is, they brought us to training before we were allowed to go to the Rook House, because Lady Rooke was a Soviet spy. And it's Soviets, because they have all these submariners running around. They had the whole place wired for sound. So the idea was, the minute you come onto the Rook compound, keep your mouth shut about anything concerning submarine operations. But to this day, I wonder how much the Soviets got from eavesdropping the Rook house.
Yeah.
So, after that initial liberty, we went back out, loaded for 40 days to try to trail a Victor submarine. Now, Victor is sort of, equivalent to what we were sailing on, the 637 class, Sturgeon class. And Victor was, he was a pretty, capable submarine. And his mission was to be able to attack other submarines. So he would trail our missile boats so he could get in trail of our missile boats. So we were sent out to detect and trail this Victor. And we were going to keep an eyeball on him, within a couple hundred yards while remaining undetected. We can't get counter detected by the Soviets. That's a really bad day. So we knew, we had intelligence that he was coming to a Soviet anchorage. In Libya, there's a gulf between Benghazi and Tripoli. And if you draw a line across that gulf between those two cities, that bay is the Gulf of Sidra. And at the time, dictator Gaddafi had said that if any U.S. or NATO forces were detected within the Gulf of Sidra, he would fire on them. So if we were detected within the Gulf of Sidra, it was allowable for their frigates and patrol boats to torpedo us or depth charges. So it's a relatively frightening place, right? So our orders took us into the Gulf of Sidra, and off Benghazi, maybe a few miles to the east, was a Soviet anchorage. So there's all these Soviet warships, surface ships, that were all there at anchor. And one of them was called the Kirov. And the Kirov was a nuclear-powered battleship with a big aft deck that you could land big helicopters on. It was just bristling with radars and weapons systems and missiles and torpedoes and rocket-guided grenades for anti-submarine warfare. It's a frightening ship. It's a beautiful ship, actually, but very big. Now, where this thing was anchored out, the depth below the keel of Kirov was only about 7 feet. And our orders were to infiltrate this anchorage while remaining undetected and wait there, because we knew the Victor submarine was going to come up, and he was going to moor there at the anchorage, and he was going to get some R&R, because they had a gray painted cruise ship that they called a comfort ship. The Soviets, when they forward deploy, they take their creature comforts with them. So the comfort ship, this big cruise ship, had bowling alleys and shops and bowling alleys and hookers from Ukraine. And, I would look at the comfort ship out the periscope and say to the captain, can't we go to the comfort ship? Come on, we'll dress like Soviet sailors. We'll get away with it. Uh-huh. So the Victor was going to come in, he was going to drop anchor, he was going to moor at the anchorage, he was going to send his officers over to the Kirov to talk to the commanders and the bosses and get his orders, and then he would eventually go back to his Victor submarine and submerge and get out of the area. So, and that's when we would follow him out. The thing is, if you're at an anchorage like that, you've got to be aware that surface ships like the Kirov can use their active sonar to hang around and see if anybody's under there. So we had had Soviets intelligence, so we were going to be there on Thursday.
Hey, hold on just a second, Mikey. So, Red, is he choppy to you, or is it just me?
It's his connection. Yeah, he's choppy to me.
Okay.
It's just, I think it's his connection. I don't know if he's running the phone call through his computer or what, but he sometimes doesn't have the greatest connection.
Yeah. You want to use the computer connection?
No,
I don't know if it. I seem to recall having trouble with your computer connection too.
He did.
What?
He did. I think you guys did best with the phone last time.
Yeah.
It comes in and out. I think you just have no control. Do you have rain going on right now?
The rain tapered off.
Okay, but see, you sound right 5 a minute, but I can tell that it is a network connection because I haven't broken up at all, right?
No, you sound great. Maybe this
Yeah.
is just how he sounds.
Mikey, are you broken up?
No, I'm whole.
Well, just maybe just talk a little bit more slowly so we can maybe just fill in any gaps because you don't know, you're not able to tell when we're missing stuff. It's kind of like about I don't know, you'll go about 45 seconds, you're great, and then we'll for like 10 seconds it's choppy. So
well,
yeah,
let's do an experiment.
what? Yeah, I didn't understand the darn thing you just said.
We didn't hear that at all, Mikey.
I said, let's try me on the computer audio.
All right, leave the.
Because also your video is fuzzy too, right? Is it just me, Anthony? His video is not great either.
I thought that's the way he looked.
Fuzzy?
Yeah. Well, leave the phone on, Mikey, and then go ahead and send me your video, and maybe what I can do is I can just I'll find a way to I need the audio though. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. Don't do anything. Hold on a second. I get to show what I can do here. Let's see what can I do. So say something.
Something. Mikey. Something. Mikey.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Sound check. Sound check.
Yeah. So
I think it's coming better over the computer.
Is just mute yourself on the phone. Okay.
Hold on a second.
And then I'm going to use my speakers here to pipe the sound right on through. Don't hang up or anything. This is why I get paid the big bucks.
Yeah, tell me how that comes out, Anthony.
Okay, so
That's way better.
Yep. And let me just check to hear what everyone else is hearing. Yeah, I
Can I just watch it? Okay.
I think that's going to be okay. Just don't hang up your phone because we don't want to mess with whatever we got going with Supersonic. And I can turn that all the way up. Okay, so I think we're going to be good to go here.
All righty. Talk, Mikey.
Okay, sounds good. Hold on a sec.
So I should just mention to Thomas, because Thomas was here on the very first time that we did this. And this time, it's not my fault. Okay? It's not my fault.
Nope, totally not your fault. Mikey, what are you doing?
Mikey, where'd you go?
Say something, Mikey. Can you even hear us now? He muted himself on
The wrong.
Yeah, my issue is that
you.
What's your issue?
testing 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. I guess maybe he can't hear us.
No, he's got a major lag now.
Oh, I've got it figured out now, kids.
Okay.
Now we're cooking with gas.
All right.
And you can hear both of us? Okay.
I thought we had him.
Hello. He's away lagged.
I don't know. I thought we had it. And JB,
The trouble
don't
is
think that I
I've
didn't see
got
that
my
comment.
audio coming out of my computer speakers, and it's not synchronized with my own voice.
Well, don't look at your face. Just talk.
Oh, yeah, his lips are moving and I can hear nothing.
Yeah, I don't think we need to worry too much about the sync from that point of view. As long as the three of us can have a conversation.
Anthony,
then-
should the audio be coming out of video?
No, you should mute.
That's probably why it was choppy. You didn't mute video.
Yeah, you should mute everything. You want to hear the conversation through your phone with Supersonic, okay? But then talk through the video. Does that make sense? So you will mute the microphone that's on your phone, but not on your video.
Okay, hold on. Okay, let me test on that.
Now that sounds way better.
Yeah, it's just, I'm speaking and then my voice comes blasting through back at me.
From where is the sound, your voice coming back at you from?
Are you guys getting this?
Okay, so let me think. What else could we do?
Well, if you muted the sound on video, I wonder if that would work. I wonder if he had both of the audios on and were conflicting. I don't know.
Yeah.
What I did was I got rid of the. I'm getting my voice repeated back to me on a 10-second delay coming through this phone.
All right. Well, I just turned off my speakers, so you're only through the phone right now.
Okay, that's better. That's much better.
It's better for him now. That's so weird.
Yeah. I mean, this is the way to go. If we can just keep your phone. Can you move it like 1 inch?
Can you move it like 1 inch?
Away from him. Yeah.
How's that?
Away from him.
How's that?
Yeah.
Well,
How's that?
Let's run with it.
That's perfect.
Let's run with it.
Okay, cool.
All right. So the last thing that everyone heard was how badly you want to get on that Russian comfort.
Yeah.
So when you infiltrate a Soviet anchorage, you have to position your submarine directly underneath the hull of the biggest ship, which was the Kirov, which was also a command and control ship. So we were hovering underneath the Kirov with the top of our sail about 3 feet from the bottom of his hull. And there was only maybe 3 feet below the bottom of our keel and the sea bottom. So we're just sitting there for probably 6 days waiting for the Victor. And the false intelligence that was sent to the Russians said that we would be there on a Thursday. And then when we deliberately got there early on a Monday. So for 3 days, we pretty much just relaxed and waited for the Victor to show up in the anchorage. And we would thrust out from under the Kirov every once in a while and pop up a periscope to see if, that Victor submarine had arrived. And then we'd dip the scope and thrust back under the Kirov. We were very worried that sailors on the Kirov going out for a smoke on the decks would just look out and see our periscope, and then pandemonium would break out. And because it was a free fire zone, that might not have been survivable. But then on that Thursday, the Kirov turned on its sonar looking for us. And we called it the death ray sonar because it was like a a police siren where it never stopped. It was not pinging. It was putting out a police siren waveform that would start really low and then rise up into the high register.
Yeah.
Mikey,
Yeah.
Hold on a minute here. This time it was my fault.
Oh,
Dang it.
Totally not my.
Yeah. Okay. Man, Jamie, you're fired. Okay. I believe the echo's gone. No more echo. That one was my fault. All right, so the death sonar.
Right. So the thing about it was so loud that we could not have a conversation with each other. Practically had to write down things that we were trying to communicate because this sonar was just ear screechingly loud. And they broadcast that sonar for 3 days straight. And you want to talk about fatigue? This is why at Gitmo they will play heavy metal, rock and roll, or Dolly Parton at volumes that are way too loud for the human ear. And it's exhausting. It's just completely exhausting. So even though the Soviets were broadcasting the sonar looking for us, we would keep thrusting out every once in a while, hopefully at night, to look for the Victor submarine. And we actually we saw him come in and tie up, and then suddenly the Russian sonar stopped. So it was like they just gave up. They decided that we weren't there. And the Victor submarine sailors, they took their boats over to the comfort ship. They were relaxed. They were enjoying themselves. And then eventually they buttoned up and they weighed anchor and they started moving out of the Gulf of Sidra. So, of course, we followed behind them, maybe 300 yards behind those guys. And for about 40 days and 40 nights, we were in trail of that Victor. We were only loaded out for 40 days, and we found him 16 days in. So we ran out of food. So the tail end of that run for over 2 weeks, we were just down to apple juice and coffee. And the captain said, when we're down to 80 hours of coffee, he's breaking trail. That's it. So the thing about it is, the worst that can happen to you when you're trailing a Soviet submarine is him detecting you. We call it a counter detection. And if he counter detects you, it's really bad news because the Soviets have been known to launch live fire torpedoes at somebody trailing them. They have a routine where if they think they've been detected, they do a crazy Ivan. They do a teardrop pattern to come back on the heading they were originally going, and they shoot a torpedo. Now, maybe it's just for show. Maybe they don't expect it to succeed. We were, very aware of that. And in fact, the Soviet commissars, who are the political officers, they carry a stopwatch around their neck all day and all night. And if there's a counter detection, they click that stopwatch. And if the Soviets fail to have a torpedo in the water within 90 seconds, that captain's going to the gulag.
Wow.
So we were aware that this was, a death-defying operation. Now, that being said, something really bad happened in the middle of the night. It was maybe 2:30 a.m. Mediterranean time. And you have to know the configuration of the submarine. There's this thing called an engine order telegraph. It's a little device, you've seen them on the Titanic movies, with the double levers, and it goes, from stop to ahead 1/3 to ahead 2/3, standard, full speed, flank speed, or maybe back 1/3 or back 2/3. Well, ours was a little box about the size of a pineapple, and it had a little T handle on it. And while we're trailing this Russian, the T handle was selected to ahead 1/3. Now, this little engine order telephone box is set right by the helmsman's knee. because the helmsman, the guy who's, controlling the rudder, he's also got the engine order. So if you're changing speed, you say helm all at 2/3. The other thing you need to know is if you go a jump bell, if you go from ahead 1/3 to flank, that means it's an emergency. The next thing you need to know is that if you get a jump bell while you're in trail of a Soviet, it means you're being fired upon.
Huh.
So if the engine order back in maneuvering, where the guys are splitting atoms, goes from ahead 1/3, the way it had been set for days and days and days, to a head flank, that means you're trying to outmaneuver an incoming torpedo. So the guys back aft, splitting atoms, suddenly get an ahead flank board coming up from 1/3. Everybody, there was no panic. There was just intense focus because these guys thought, okay, the things that we're going to do in the next 30 seconds are going to determine if we live or die. So the first thing that happens is they have to take 4 main coolant pumps in the reactor recirc loops that are running in slow speed, and they have to start them in fast. And every time they switch one of the 4 pumps to fast speed, it slams check valve. And when that check valve slams, it goes boom out into the ocean. So they get the head flank order, and the reactor operator started 4 pumps in record time, and he was just going boom, 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 boom. So 4 loud booms go out into the ocean. And there's no way that Russian did not hear those booms. Next thing that happens is we start speeding up. Now, we're starting out only a football field behind this guy, and we were going 4 knots. And then all of a sudden, with the flank bell, we're speeding up to 30. And I think we were going about 15 by the time we collided with him. So we hit the side of the Soviet Victor submarine, and we scraped his paint off for about 300 feet before the guys in the control room realized that all hell was breaking loose, because they did not order a head flank. They thought that we were ordered up to a head 1/3, and suddenly they have no idea why the boat is speeding up and it's going 16, 17 knots now. And they got no idea why all of a sudden there's this loud bang on the port side and the scraping noise that would wake up Abraham Lincoln. So the recovery was, as soon as they figured out what was going on, now we're maybe 400 or 500 yards ahead of the Soviet Victor, right, and they ordered up all stop. So at all stop, we start coasting down from about 18 knots back to 3 or 4. And we're waiting for the Russian to shoot 1, 2, or 3 torpedoes at us, because that's their protocol. And there's no way on that submarine that the on-watch crew failed to hear this loud set of noises, and the scraping and the banging and the clanging. And yet the Soviet kept going like he was whistling through a graveyard. And none of us could figure it out. And in the post-watch critique, where we put together what we call the patrol report, what happened on that watch and what was the real story, does everybody agree this is really what happened? Because this patrol report's going to go to the president's desk. We determined that the on-watch guys were on the graveyard shift Moscow time. And the sonar supervisor and the deck officer conspired to cover this up from the captain and the commissar, because those guys knew that if they'd been counter-detected, that they were going to the gulag. So they just didn't say a word, kept going like nothing had happened.
So this is an unclassified story?
Yeah, the thing that saved these stories was that the Navy declassified a boatload of stuff to try to get the Seawolf program approved.
Okay.
And in fact, they were trying to put me in jail for writing my first novel, Voyage to the Devilfish. And then, we pointed out that you guys declassified all this stuff already anyway.
Uh-huh.
I'm not letting any cats out of the bag. I'm just, telling it like it is. And they said, oh, yeah, I guess you got a good point. So it was all okay.
Okay. So I can just imagine that was an extremely stressful few moments waiting for torpedoes to splash. You probably don't call it, that's probably not the right term, but did your hair turn white?
I think I aged about 4 years that one night. You know, we had 2 torpedo tube doors open, 2 torpedoes powered up with the target package all locked into them. We were ready to take the victor out if he launched at us, but we probably would have taken one ourselves. Maybe we would have been able to survive an abandoned ship, but more than likely we would have been on the ocean bottom. And you're always hyper aware of how deep the sea is when you're there. Usually the ocean bottom is about 2 miles beneath your sneakers.
Okay. Red, do you want to chime in here at all?
Well, the thing that always amazed me, and Mikey and I have talked about this before, is I never really thought about how long the wait is after they set off a torpedo. And I said, what do you do while you're waiting? How long do you have? And I think he said, what, an hour, sometimes an hour and a half. And whereas I'm used to, everything from the sky, you have instant gratification. It's like, you blew it up, you go on to the next thing. Meanwhile, he's taking a shower, smoking a cigar, doing whatever in between time. It's so difficult for me to fathom. I would just, I don't even know. But it's like, yeah, he's just very chill about it. It's like, yeah, okay, so we launched a couple of torpedoes. All right, well, we'll wait to see.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the limited detection might be, 10 nautical miles. And if the torpedo is going 50 nautical miles, covering 10 nautical miles, what is that, 12 minutes? That's a long, tense 12 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Now, I just talked about the limited detection, nominal 12 nautical miles or 20,000 yards. On any given Sunday, one submarine might be better than another. And we've had a lot of discussion about this, but my example is we were a 637 Sturgeon class, and we were put in an exercise against the Memphis, which was a brand new 688 Los Angeles class. And we thought we were going to get absolutely hammered by the Memphis. As it turned out, we detected Memphis 40 miles away, 80,000 yards.
Wow.
And we don't think she could detect us until she was within 5 or 6 miles. And we call that acoustic advantage. So that acoustic advantage against Memphis, the bosses were very interested in what the hell was going on. And it turned out that the way we detected Memphis was that it was the way that the Los Angeles class got rid of its sewage. On the old class, on the Sturgeon class, all our sewage would go to what we called a hard tank. A hard meaning that it could stand up to sea pressure at test depth or below. And so all the drains from the commodes and the sinks, showers, would go into this big hard tank, sanitary tank, San Juan. And when it got full up, they would pretty much put signs on all the heads, the bathrooms, saying, we're blowing sanitaries, do not use. So if you had to go to the bathroom while the ship was blowing sanitaries, you could not flush. If you did flush, you got a big face full of diarrhea.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes people arranged it so that chief petty officers that they didn't like found themselves going to the bathroom while blowing sanitaries. And, nothing will calibrate your attitude more than getting a face full of shit.
Yeah.
But what happened was they would shut all the valves and all the drains, and they would put 700 pound per square inch air into the tank and open its bottom valve. And we would just, by air loading that tank, the level of all the shit would just go down to the bottom of the tank and out to the ocean. Very quiet. Then we'd shut the bottom valve, but now you've got a tank that has, 300 or 400 pounds per square inch, very smelly air in it. What do you do with that? You can't vent it overboard because that's bubbles, and bubbles make noise, and noise gets submarines detected, and submarines that are detected can get shot down. So what we do is we vent it back into the submarine through a carbon filter. And when that air comes through that carbon filter, it smells so horrible that you want to kill yourself. And guess where the outlet of that sanitary tank's air through the carbon filter was. Right over my head in my bunk.
Is this do you feel like that
Oh my God.
explains anything about you at all, maybe?
But the Memphis had somebody had decided when they engineered the 688 class that air loading tanks was just a bad idea because venting that air inside the boat made it stink.
Yeah.
So we'll come up with a pump, a slurry pump, a positive displacement piston pump that will take a suction on the tank, and the pistons will just, pressurize this slurry, this shit stream, and pump it overboard. And that's how we detected Memphis, because we heard her shit pumps.
Wow.
So did they immediately change the design, Mikey? Did they do something to fix that? What did they do?
But now they realized that it was something that couldn't be helped. So the idea was, if you're gonna pump your sanitary tanks, make sure you're not in an actual situation. Make sure you're not in an exercise. You're not trailing a Soviet submarine. You're not in an anchorage hovering underneath Kirov.
Right.
Do it away, and when you're done, wash your hands afterwards.
Wow.
So yeah, that was something that happened. Now there's, when it comes to detection and counter detection, they have something called a security exercise. Now you guys know that submarines come in two flavors. There's the attack submarines, where our mission is to go kill Soviet surface ships or Soviet submarines. And then there are ballistic missile submarines that hold, 16 or 24 city-killing intercontinental ballistic missiles. Now, we call them boomers.
Right.
Boomers are our strategic deterrent. They're one leg of the triad. And the boomers, they don't do the exciting stuff that the attack boats that we did. Their mission in life is to remain undetected and go to random places that are determined by random number generators or even the roll of the dice, somewhere in a vast operational area where even our forces don't know where they are, and just wait for orders to fire their missiles. So they implemented a security exercise because the worry is that a Soviet submarine could trail one of these missile boats, and if it starts coming to missile firing depth on orders from the president to launch and opens a missile tube door, the Soviet submarine could sink it. And that's what all their attack force was concentrating on. Their ability to trail a missile boat, that would get somebody the Order of Lenin and a double promotion. So to practice that, we would pretend to be the Soviets, and we would see if we could get in trail of one of our own missile boats. And so, like with many of these exercises, it was choreographed. So it was set to be, my boat had to be at point A at 1300 hours, and the boomer had to be at point B at 1300 hours within detection range of us. And so then the clock would start on the exercise. And the objective for us was to see how long we could trail it. So if we could keep the missile boat under trail for an hour, that meant we won the exercise. And it meant the ballistic missile sub lost the exercise.
Mm-hmm.
So we started out in trail of the boomer. I forget which one it was. I think it was the 640 class. And we were all high-fiving each other because we were successfully and expertly trailing him. We'd had this guy nailed down. We could have taken him out with 2 or 4 torpedoes at our leisure. And then in the wrap-up of the exercise, we found out, to our dismay, that the boomer had launched a countermeasure about 1 minute and 30 seconds into the exercise. And this countermeasure is just a big torpedo that has a sound-emitting, computerized thing that makes this torpedo sound exactly like the boomer. So the boomer launched this countermeasure, which went left, and then the boomer went right, and we followed the countermeasure for about an hour, all proud of ourselves.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, I mean, the good news there was that, you know, our security systems were top notch. The bad news was that the captain was really hoping he could trail that boomer and, you know, get it from, was
Yeah.
not.
Hey, why don't you take a minute and give a sketch of the time frame when you were in the submarine? I know we have a lot of people who know you, but there's at least a couple that don't in the chat. They're talking smack about you, by the way. But
Well, you know, that's sort of a submarine force tradition, talking smack.
yeah.
So
No, when did you serve?
I showed up in my submarine in 1982 after going to grad school, and I think we deployed. We did some, you know, a lot of NATO exercises and local exercises until it was time to deploy. And we deployed in November of '83. It was November 18th, 1983. Never forget it. So we had Thanksgiving at sea that year. Now, you guys know that on Navy ships, there's no alcohol served, right? Well, the nuclear mechanics had a still in the purifier bay and engine room lower level. So we toasted Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's that year. And the idea is, as long as they give some to the captain, they can't get in trouble.
Right.
So that was the run where we trailed the Victor, and we did not come home until April. And so it was, you know, it was a fairly meaty deployment. The worst part was running out of food.
Yeah.
Then we pulled back into Norfolk, and then we did more NATO exercises. NATO exercise is an 8-week thing, submerged in the far North Atlantic, the North Atlantic. And then, you know, I think it was 85. We put the ship through the Panama Canal and drove it into California for overhaul. And then it was a shipyard queen for a while. And I went on to the Naval Academy to teach engineering, where one of my best stories happened. And I taught there for 2 years, and then decided, because of something that happened while I was at the Naval Academy, something that was totally not my fault,
Right.
that I needed to leave the Navy under the advice of an admiral. So,
Okay, so are you gonna tell us his favorite story or no?
yeah, so you have to understand that, you know, I'm in the engineering department. I'm teaching thermodynamics. The Naval Academy liked having graduates of institutions like MIT teaching there. It helped their getting accredited. And so I was there minding my own business, teaching thermodynamics, happy as a clam. And then, you know, the summer came up, and I thought, you know, it's going to be great. We're going to have 2.5 months off. We can just screw off. No, if you're an officer at the Naval Academy, you have to teach professional development to the midshipmen over the summer. So they assigned me to the seamanship department. This was a big mistake on the Naval Academy's part. So I ended up training midshipmen on yard patrol craft cruises. Now, yard patrol craft, imagine, if you will, an 80-foot long yacht made of wood, painted gray, with 2 twin diesels. I think each one was maybe 800 horsepower. And it's outfitted like a ship. It's got, you know, the bridge with the bridge wings and the engine order telegraph and the wheel. And then it's got a flying bridge up top. It's got the compass alidade, so you can see where you're looking. And it's got, you know, communications with the bridge and with the engine room. And, you know, it's there to train midshipmen. I don't know how much good it really did at training them, but, you know, it was a thing. So we were going to take a cruise from Annapolis up to Chesapeake Bay. The idea was that we were going to stop in Philadelphia and go up through, you know, around Delaware and the Delmarva Peninsula. It was maybe going to be a 1-week cruise with the midshipmen acting as navigators and officer in charge, operating the engine room. We'll do cooking, you know, they're going to be cooking. So I was named assistant officer in charge. So I'm second in command. At the time, you know, I was having so much fun, this being shore duty, that I was a little too relaxed. I was perhaps a little bit unprofessional. And because there was a surface ship officer, some guy from a cruiser who knew surface ship stuff. He was officer in charge. He was a lieutenant like me. We're up there on the flying bridge. It's a sunny day, beautiful day. We're in the very tippy top north part of the Chesapeake Bay. And there's a canal that we're going to go through called, I think it's the Delaware Canal. It connects the Chesapeake Bay to the Delaware Bay. And that way you can get to Philadelphia and, parts north. So we're in that, we're heading toward that canal. And at the time, there were red and black buoys. And there was a rule of seamanship called red right returning. If you're coming from the ocean to the harbor, you keep the red buoys on your right side, red right returning. If you're leaving the harbor and you're going to sea, you keep the black buoys on your right. So it's red right returning, black right out. Easy to remember, right? But as we're getting near the approach to the Delaware Canal, I kind of lost my focus. Am I going to the sea through the Delaware Canal? Or am I still returning from the sea in the Chesapeake Bay? Now, the officer in charge had it all under control. There was a midshipman navigator. I'm pretty much a fifth wheel. So I'm just up there in the sunshine enjoying things. And then it became clear that the officer in charge had had Taco Bell the night before. So very suddenly, he had an urgent need to void his bowels. So he tells me, you know where we are. I got to go. You've got it. And he disappears from the runs downstairs, goes in hall, down to the lower level, and he's crapping his brains out down there. And I say to the midshipman navigator, when's the next turn? And the navigator says, I'm confused. I'm not sure where we should turn.
Huh.
Trouble was we were in a formation of 6 boats and we were the lead boat. So 5 boats behind me are all watching me and following. And he doesn't know whether to leave this black buoy on the right or the left. And is it black right out or is it red right returning? And you should have had a navigational fix anyway. You're really not supposed to rely on buoys for your navigation.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
just a guideline. So he does not have a fix. He does not have a dead reckoning position. He's not sure which way to leave the buoy. So in that situation, protocol demands that you sound the danger signal, you blow the ship's whistle 6 times, and you come to a stop. I didn't do that because it'd be embarrassing.
Yeah.
Oh, Mikey.
So I gave him an order to leave the black buoy on the left. And we were going at a head flank. We were doing about 13 knots, maybe 14. And we hit a sandbar so hard that we went from 14 knots to 0 like that.
Oh, man.
And I stood that yard patrol craft up on its nose, and its screws came out of the water.
Wow.
And 40 midshipmen got lacerations and cuts and bruises.
Oh, this is not a great story. This is terrible.
No broken bones. So, it was the landing we walked away from. But when all was said and done, we were at probably a 15-degree list. And, our screws still kind of sticking out of the water. And, we're completely helpless. And nothing worked to try to get us off the sandbar. We went back full and head flank and back full, and nothing worked. We had to wait for, a yard tug to come and pull us off that sandbar. And the worst part about it was not just the midshipmen who were on my yard patrol craft, but the other 5. There had to be 500 people watching me screw this up. So, people would give me bumper stickers that would say things like, I know where buoy 56 is. You asshole. But so what happens is we pull into Philadelphia Naval Yard, and I know I'm in trouble, right? And so they bring up a cadre of senior officers, admirals, a couple lieutenant commanders, lieutenants. They're taking everybody's statements. And they tell me, Lieutenant DiMercurio, you have to give a statement. So they hand me a pad of paper, and I pretty much write down, I totally fucked this up. This is all my fault. Now, and I even put in the statement, you know, what should have been the best part. See, the officer in charge was down below 2 decks, pooping his brains out, right? All of a sudden, in the bathroom down there, we hit that sandbar so hard that all the poop and urine in the bowl of that toilet flowed back up out of the bowl and right into his underwear. So his pants and underwear are soaked with Taco Bell excrement and urine, and he pulls his pants up and he flies up to the flying bridge to see what the hell just happened. And he is just soaked from his waist to his knees with toilet water, with some in his shorts. Needless to say, the officer in charge was not happy with me. I lost a friend that day.
Is this a true?
Yeah, I bet.
Is this a true story?
This is absolutely true. And so what happened was this contingent of senior officers, they convened a hearing. So they took my statement that said, yeah, I really fucked this up. And they took the statement of all the midshipmen involved, including on the 5 boats behind us. Just took a while. And then they brought me into the room that had the green tablecloth on it, no ashtray and it's in a T shape. So there's a long table and all the senior admirals or senior officers are sitting there. And then the table comes out near at the end. And so they asked me what happened, and I told them that I messed up. And they said, why did you do that? And I said I thought it would be embarrassing to sound the danger signal and stop. So obviously I'm an idiot, right? So they stop the inquest, and the admiral takes me up on the pier, and he puts his arm around me. Now, when an admiral puts his arm around you when you're a lieutenant, you know you're in trouble. So he says to me, Lieutenant DiMercurio, I've been through your personnel file. I think I know you better than your mother. You're a brilliant guy. You're an innovator. You're amazing. But you're never going to command a submarine, and frankly, you're never going to be a navigator on a submarine. And more to the point, I doubt any captain is really going to want you on the crew of this submarine. So if I were you, son, industry, make a name for yourself there, but don't do this.
Hold on.
And
You were all choppy. You're all choppy through the best part. What did?
I know. You have to tell us what the admiral said again.
Yeah.
Son, you're a brilliant guy. You're innovative. You've got high energy. You're an amazing guy, but you're never gonna succeed in the Navy. No captain would have you in his crew. You'll never command a submarine. So my advice to you is to go make a name for yourself in civilian industry. And that's why
so I need to understand a couple of things here, because this is insane. I mean, how many people were on that fly bridge? And nobody knew where anybody was going? Nobody had a clue?
There are 5. Remember, 4 of them were midshipmen.
Okay, and then you have how many? You have 5 behind you? Is there no comms between you guys? Hey, idiot, you're going the wrong way? Nothing?
Nothing. We had comms. Nobody called up on the field.
I mean, so as far as I'm concerned, they're just as stupid as you.
Yeah, but I was more stupid.
Oh, my God. That's just incredible.
It was just more convenient of them to kill me than, for the blame.
Yeah, but I don't know. Self-preservation and integrity, somebody should have said, hey, dude, no.
I learned a lesson that day that would carry me through my career. But
well, the problem is,
right,
once
JD.
you do something like that, you are so damaged because you showed under pressure you did not make a good decision. And in that case, you are done.
Yeah.
Hey,
try sitting back a little bit.
Yeah, move your phone again a little bit. There you
Try
go.
sitting back a little bit.
Yeah, so Reddit, more commentary from the redhead.
You're blocking your own cell signal, I think, if you're not sitting right.
Well, I was just, I mean, as I said, when I told him, I don't know if you'd heard it, Anthony,
I
is
did.
those guys who
I did.
let him do that were just as wrong and in some ways worse. You know, I understand. I mean, the tragic thing that has happened, you've seen, you know, Blue Angels in formation follow the lead straight into the ground. That's different. This is a submarine. You have time to move and maneuver. And nobody said a word. That's just shocking.
It was just a little surface boat, right?
Yeah.
The aviation reef where somebody said, okay, now this is tricky, guys. So when you get people, keep the red light returning all the way until you're into the Delaware Canal. You know, we always do a navigation. Nobody thought to do one this time.
And I love that I know where buoy 56 is. That's freaking hilarious.
Yeah, and they gave it to me on a bumper sticker, like, yeah, I'm going to put that on my car.
But now you're a legendary writer, and you've got a book out, and it's doing well in sales, and your audio books are flying off the shelf too. So I think all's well that ends well, right? What do I always say? I want to finish well. I think you'll finish well.
Well, I'm glad that I had my writing career because, you know, one of the reasons I started writing was because I missed the submarine force. You can't imagine how it feels to be at the periscope, coming to periscope depth when you're officer of the deck and driving the boat. And I'll never experience that again. So I wanted to write about it so I could kind of feel it.
Sure.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, that's great. I mean, even just the chapter you gave me today in 14, and this is so funny, Anthony. So this is like a really complicated, it's a mission, and it involves SEALs and this and that, and I'm not going to give it all away. And he spent a lot of time writing this particular chapter, 2-3 days maybe, and he sent it to me because he usually sends them to me when he's done to read with the chapter. And I'm like, wow, this is fabulous. This is really interesting. This is really great. Oh my gosh, I completely empathize with this character. I can understand how he's feeling. And we talked about it later. But the first thing Mikey says to me, it's like, oh yeah, I thought it was boring. I'm like, really? That just happens in everybody's life every day. Oh, okay, yes, we're submerged and we're getting ready to go on a mission here with some SEALs, but that's boring. I just have to laugh because I always tell him he does not see himself sometimes for who he is, and it drives me nuts. And he accuses me of the same thing. But I just thought that statement today was so interesting. And again, this chapter was phenomenal. The detail, and I love his character development. Bar none, it's just really good. But it was kind of funny that he thought that was boring.
So
you're still living on your submarines.
So about the SEALs, do you have any stories of your interactions while you were I know that there's project boats and you were not a project boat, but did you? Dang it all. He's giving me top secret stuff right now and I can't hear anything.
Yeah, and that kind of stuff you probably really can't talk about because the SEALs missions usually you don't talk about.
Yeah, my phone is in a full mutiny right now, so maybe we gotta bring this to a close.
Well, that'd be a darn shame. But
you sit back. It's just, I think part of it is the connection too.
Yeah. How about we do have about 20 minutes left. Why don't we just simply try the old fashioned hang up and call back kind of thing and see if we get a better connection? Could you can we all hang up, then you set up the 3-way call again?
Yep, I'll do it.
Okay.
No problem.
All right, well, I'm going to say something intelligent here. So, sorry about the sound stuff, folks. Of course, most of it wasn't my fault, but that one thing was, but I can explain it. Hopefully, the overall sound quality of me, at least, is better. I bought a new microphone because I wasn't happy with the sound quality of the others. It was the darndest thing when I would do my own. Nope. You didn't even get to hear the darndest thing. All right, this is Horvath.
All right, it's me again. Let me grab Mikey. Stand by.
All right. Yeah, what I was saying while we wait is my sound checks were all right, but when I listened to the recording on YouTube, it was scratchy. So
I think it's his. I honestly his connection.
He's gone again.
Hold on a second here.
I actually forgot the name of it. Some piece of Chinese junk, but it had good reviews. So
let me see if did I lose him? I must have lost him.
So in a couple weeks, we're going to do a podcast on volunteer firefighting, and this particular mic set that I've got came with two, so that we can me and a assistant chief will have a conversation together, and so that's why I bought the new mic so that we can both talk at the same time. All right, Mikey, you back? Are you here yet? Wow. So
are you there? I've lost him. Hold on.
I've tried all sorts of different things to try to pipe the the phone conversation right into the computer too. But that's great for the audio out, but then they
there
can't.
You go. I got both of you. So it's AT&T is having issues today, and he and I both had AT&T, and it dropped him twice. But you guys are both there now. So how do you sound? How do I sound?
You sound great, Mikey. How about you?
I hear you guys fine.
Okay, so I was asking you if there was any kind of commentary that you can give on the SEALs, and all we heard were black vans driving up.
Nothing really sexy. The SEALs, especially their lifespan, either in shallow water or rubber boats or on shore. The thing for them that they have practice is going out the airlock of submarines. So we just did that over and over and over and over. So they go in, they'd lock out, they'd come back in, they'd lock back out. So they may have gone through that airlock so many times that they got it down to time.
Gotcha. Well, you're still a little bit too choppy for this to work. So I do have one idea in the future. We can maybe try opening up X spaces again.
Yeah, they work great. Yeah, once you get it started.
And then what I could do is I could pipe that feed into my podcast software, and then I think everyone could hear each other. Hey JB, that's a good suggestion. I think the problem is what I'm able to do is not quite the same necessarily as what they're able to do. Is kind of the challenge, but I know they know how to work with Twitter Spaces, so we should experiment with that sometime.
We can do that, sure.
So I guess I'm not going to belabor it. I don't think we need to have another 15 minutes of scratchy, but we did get. I thought we got a really good stretch there, a good 40 minutes of some good storytelling. So, it wasn't all lost, but I have a lot more things I want to ask you about. Is what it comes down to. So, can we experiment sometime, Mikey, with trying to do this again?
Yeah, let's do a Q&A session using that. This is how it goes.
Okay, I know he said something. I heard Q. There may have been an A.
I heard a Q&A session sometime. That's all I heard.
Yeah. Right. He's more coherent than normal. So,
doing good.
So it's kind of funny. He can hear me, but he can't really respond. And it's funny. I hope he doesn't mind me giving him a little grief the way I do. I hardly even know the guy, but he takes it so well.
Oh, he does it well, and he dishes it out too. Believe me. So you should hear him and Joe go at it all the time. It's hilarious, and you get the three of us together. I mean, you listen to our last spaces, you see how we are together. We really are a team.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, and then people DM me off to the side. It's like, why is Joe so mean to Mike, and why is Mike so mean to Joe? And I'm like, it's a shtick, okay? Yeah. They really love each other. They've known each other a long time, and the questions I get afterwards are ridiculous. I mean, it's just so funny. But.
All right. Well, okay. Well, then I'm going to let you guys go. And thank you for your time. I'm gonna close it up give my last 5-minute spiel here. I thank you for joining me tonight, and we will try something again in the future.
That sounds great. Thanks for your time, Anthony.
You bet. Have a good one. Bye, Red. Bye, Mikey.
Bye.
All right. There he goes. So let me just move some things around here. So JB, if you're still there, yeah, thanks, Thomas. Appreciate it. Just before I give my wrap up, JB, you heard the microphone that I was using all the previous times. Do you remember well enough to know, was this better than those times, or was it really the same? It's going to take about 2 seconds to get to you that question. So while he's typing in his answer there, yeah, this was still entertaining. Okay, thanks JB for that feedback. Appreciate it. We will we'll definitely try doing this again. We'll try some other ways. I think part of the challenge is that when I looked into how to pull this together, we got 2 other people that are out there, not just me. And it's hard to know what tools that they have, and if I get too elaborate with them, because there were some elaborate options that are out there, the problem is getting everyone on board. So we might try something with like a Zoom platform to just, there's some things that don't really work with Zoom with I'm using OBS, but in a worst case scenario, if we just want to make sure that we have a conversation that works, maybe we're just gonna have to do it. So I'm gonna that I'll ask him, JB, about Discord, but I have a feeling that's beyond Mikey. It's a good idea though. I mean, they make it pretty easy, don't they? There at Discord. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up because no one needs to sit here and listen to me do this stuff. It's as much fun as it would be. So this is the Gutencast. I'm just kind of collecting my thoughts and bring it back out. We're looking for guests. If you want to be a guest on the show and you want to talk about whatever, I'm happy to do it. And if you know somebody, if you know somebody who would be good, that'd be fine too. So make those introductions. The general rule is buy every book that we ever promote. That's always fun too. And you can find you've got to do the basics for us, because for us to succeed, it ultimately requires more people to know about it, so on and so forth. So like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I hate that it comes out as sounds so mercenary to put it that way, but we can't succeed without you, and we want to succeed. So thank you for being here tonight. If you're watching this in a later broadcast or whatever, make sure you find us on X, and in the links in the description for the X accounts make it easy for you. And that we're just going to wrap it up with that tonight. Thanks again. Really appreciate it. And you guys all have a good night. And this is the part that I still haven't quite figured out how to do, how to end the stream without clipping the last few seconds of what I've said. So I'm going to just stare at you for about 3 seconds.